And after this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down. We're going to walk down anyone you want, but I think right here, we're going to walk down to the Capitol, because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength, and you have to be.
On January 6th, 2021, in Universe A-8, a rally led by President Donald Trump turned violent, storming the United States Capitol in order to stop the confirmation of Joe Biden as the next president. While most of the thousands rushing the Capitol were everyday citizens drawn there by conspiracies, political radicalization, or personal demons, this flock was actually an unwitting cover, allowing a paramilitary group known as Zeta to enter the building unopposed. Heavily armed with assault rifles, Zeta soldiers used information provided by Arizona Congressman Paul Gosar and Andy Biggs to gain entry into the Senate and House secure locations. After overwhelming Capitol Police and Secret Service, armed only with handguns, Zeta ordered all the politicians back upstairs into the House chamber. Once the doors closed behind them, a group led by Senators Booker, Schatz, and Romney rushed the terrorists. They were the first to die. Congressman Gosar stepped to the podium and told the remaining politicians to remain still or they would meet the same fate. When dozens of Democrats and moderate Republicans protested, they were shot next. The room now still with fear, Gosar ordered Vice President Pence and leaders Pelosi, Schumer, and McConnell to the podium area. Gosar asked the room if these four had been loyal to President Trump. While most remained quiet, Congresswomen Green and Boebert led a group shouting no. Gosar then said, "If you aren't loyal to Trump, you aren't loyal to America, and you deserve to die." All four were shot. Gosar then said all well-known Republican supporters of President Trump could cross the hall to the Senate chamber. All but a few raced to exit. Leader McCarthy and Senators Cruz and Scott were stopped at the door, forced at gunpoint back to the front of the House chamber. There they were asked if they would die for President Trump. All three said yes. Gosar then said, "And so you will," and ordered all three shot. Each of the remaining Democrats, along with a dozen Republicans who stayed behind, were brought up to the front. All asked the same question: will you die for President Trump? All who said no were shot. But those who said yes either died if Gosar repeated, "And so you will," or lived if he said, "You are America's future," and let them cross to the Senate. When Congresswoman Cortez was brought forward, she spoke before Gosar could. "You've only let old white men and young white women live. I won't spend my last breaths being your fool. You will find justice soon." She was shot before she could finish her sentence. But her words proved true as the DC SWAT team, backed by the National Guard, flooded into the building. A violent firefight erupted. But 8 minutes into the shootout, the Zeta leadership collapsed. Most surrendered. The rest died at the hands of the more experienced marksmen of the DC SWAT. In the immediate aftermath, President Trump said, "While this violence was horrible, just horrible, it did save us from a much more worse outcome, and that would be the fraudulent Joe Biden." Yet when it became clear that the violent deaths of so many had shaken the country free of its recent fascist leaning, Trump attempted to distance himself from Gosar and others who orchestrated the coup on the front lines. When Congressman Biggs was the first to turn over crucial communications between the coup leadership and the Trump's White House, the few remaining supporters of Trump disappeared from public view. When the governors replaced the senators and House members in order to complete the confirmation of Joe Biden, Donald Trump and his family used his private jet to fly to Moscow. When Putin refused to extradite Trump, President Biden rallied Europe and the democracies of the world against Russia with sanctions that devastated Russia's economy. When Putin threatened war if the sanctions weren't lifted, Finland, Sweden, and Ukraine quickly joined NATO. 6 months later, Putin was assassinated by one of his young mistress's older brother. They both had been born in Ukraine, but the parents had emigrated to Russia after Putin's 1999 promise of a Russian democracy.